We begin the new chapter, biblical style of writing. After having seen the languages of the Bible, we begin the biblical style of writing. As a way of introduction to the chapter, we say for the first point, the writing was conditioned because of the material available to them. So the writing was conditioned by the availability of the writing materials. And the writing of the Bible was costly affair because the papyrus and parchments were not so available in those days. The writing was conditioned because of the available materials, and the writing of the Bible was indeed costly affair as the parchments and papyrus were not so common in the beginning. Therefore, the scribes were very careful in their writing. They were very careful in writing not to waste any space between the lines or between the sentences, paragraphs, words, and so on. That means very careful to use the parchments and papyrus. Parchments and papyrus. Because it is a costly affair. Hence, the scribes wrote continuously. The scribes were writing continuously. That continuous writing is called scripto continua. Scripto continua. Scripto continua. Therefore, there was no punctuation in their writing. There is no punctuation in their writing. Till 8th century, it was written continuously. Since they were writing continuously, there arose a problem. Problem to read and to understand, and to get the proper message, proper sense of their writing. For example, how do we read? God is nowhere. God is nowhere. Two ways we can read, okay? God is nowhere. God is nowhere. And God is now here. That means we can divide however we want. Since it is written continuously, there arose a problem to understand the proper sense of a word or a sentence. So, in the beginning, the writing was done in capitals, as we have seen. That is called uncials. The capital writing, the capital letters of writing is called uncials. Only in the 9th century, as we have seen, by the Masoretic text, the small letters have entered, the vowels have entered into the writing. That is called minuscules. Minuscules. So the writing was conditioned because of the available material. The writing was costly affair. Since it is a costly affair, the scribes were very careful to use the parchments and papyrus. Therefore, they wrote continuously. And thus continuous writing is called scripto continua. And there was no punctuation till the 8th century, and there arose a problem because of the continuous writing. The problem to understand the text in a better way, the proper sense. Therefore, only in the 9th century the small letters or the vowels were added to the text that is called minuscules. Therefore, from 9th century, the small letters made use in running hand. Only from 9th century, as a 9th point you can add, from the 9th century The small letters were added in the running hand in their writing. Now we see the writing materials. The second point, writing materials. What are the writing materials? The materials used are, first one, rock inscriptions. Rock inscriptions. Second, ostraka. Ostraka. Third, clay tablets. Fourth, papyrus. Fifth is parchment. Parchment. The first one, rock inscription. The inscription on the rock reveals the history. The inscription on the rock reveals the history. For example, Shillong Tunnel. Shillong Tunnel. So, what this Shillong Tunnel speaks about? So, before Nebuchadnezzar, the people in Jerusalem, they were finding the ways to get water from the other place. Therefore, what they have done, some people, a group of people started digging from this side. And a group of people started digging from this side. So as they were digging the rock, as they were coming, when they come near, they heard the sound. As they were chiseling the rock, as they were preparing to get the water from one place to the other. Now we have Burra caves, and in Kurnool also there are caves, and different places we have caves. When we go through the caves, when we walk through the caves, then we know how they are. Therefore, this group of people when they were digging, and this group of people when they were digging from this side, when they come closer, when they heard the sound from each other, they have written success. Therefore, this inscription reveals rock. They have written on the rock. This inscription reveals the history of that writing. Okay, brothers, this is one of the example, and archaeology reveals many more, basing on the rock. Even, for example, the Mourning Wall, the Wailing Wall. Okay. The Wailing Wall has different layers. The Wailing Wall has different layers. It looks like one wall, but the rocks used reveals the history, the age or the time is revealed basing on the rocks that they have used, and the inscriptions on the rocks reveals the time or the age, as we have different ages, Iron Age and so on. So the age is revealed basing on the inscriptions on the rock. Therefore, there were rock inscriptions which reveals the history. The second material was ostraca. Ostraca. Ostraca is the writing on the pots. Writing on the pots. Here, for example, you can write as Lachesh Ostraca. Lachesh Ostraca. 590 Nebuchadnezzar time of Nebuchadnezzar. Lachesh. What is this Lachesh Ostraca? Lachesh is the name of a place. I will tell you when we see about the geography of Palestine. So, geography of Palestine. Now, for example, here there is a city. Here there is a city. So, if this is the Lachesh, this is another city. So, the king of the Lachesh, he writes a letter to the other area from where he can get the information when the people attack. When the people were ready to attack the Babylonians, they were looking for sign. Therefore, the place ahead of it was not clear. Therefore, what happens? The king or the ruler, the head of this place, writes letters to the place from where he can get the information about the opponents who are coming. Therefore, he was asking the other leader, other king, to give us a sign, a fire sign when the Babylonians come for attack. Therefore, my brothers, these letters which were written to the Lachesh or from the Lachesh were written on ostraca pots. Different parts of the pots reveals the letters. One of the letters I will read for you. May Yahweh cause my Lord to hear this very day tidings of good, and now according to everything which my Lord has sent, this has your servant done. That means he was asking for something help. Therefore he is responding. This is a letter number 4. I wrote on the sheet according to everything which you sent to me. Inasmuch as my Lord sent to me concerning matter of Beth Harapith, there is no one there. As for Samekkahu, took him and brought him up to the city, and your servant is not sending him there. But when morning comes round, and my Lord be apprised that we are watching for 5 signals on Lachish, according to all the signs which my Lord has given, because we cannot see Azekah. That means, since from Lachish they could not see the signals from Azekah, usually from where he gets the information. Therefore, he writes to the other king of the place to get the information. See, in here we see some of the parts are missing, the dots. This is the inscription. When the dots are there, it indicates that this matter is missing from the pot, which is not clear. Therefore, how unique the writing was, we have to understand. Now we are very comfortable in writing on the paper, comfortable in our technical systems, but see the difficulty that they have faced to communicate from place to the other place. Writing on pots which are so fragile. Therefore, my brothers, it is of the Lakesh Ostraka. After the seeing of Ostraka, we see the next material, clay tablets. Clay tablet. This is writing on clay materials. Clay materials. So, the example is Amarna letters. Amarna letters, which are preserved in the library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh. So these letters are preserved in Nineveh in the library called Ashurbanipal, which speaks about the legends, liturgical text and dictionary. So almost of the same of ostraka, clay tablets and so on. The next one is papyrus, which is important for us. Papyrus. So we understand this papyrus in a better way. The first point is papyrus is a reed. Papyrus is a reed coming from or which grows along the river Nile. It is a reed which grows along the river Nile. The second point is the two layers are two reeds. Two layers are put together in a crosswise and hammered together. Two layers are put crosswise on top of each other and hammered together. See, this is a reed. This is a reed. And these are the reeds. So they are put crosswise and hammered together. Third point is most of the writings were done on papyrus. Most of the ancient writings were done on papyrus, which was prepared from the Egyptian reed. And the fourth point is, it is very difficult to handle. It is very difficult to handle. Why? Because it is fragile and dry. Because since the reed is so fragile, it can break. Therefore, it was very difficult to handle because it was fragile and dry. For example, as we see a piece of grass, when it's dried, when it is tender, it's good. But when it dries, we don't know when it breaks. So too, it was so difficult. The fifth point, it is lighter than the clay tablet. It is lighter than the clay tablets because clay tablets are from the mud material, okay, from the clay. Therefore, it was heavier. But whereas this is a lighter than clay tablets. And the size, usual size is, The sheets were 30 to 35 feet. 35 feet when it is unscrolled. And majority of the sheets measure from 14 to 50 centimeters. Centimeters width. Width is 14 to 15 centimeters and 25 to 32 centimeters length. Width and the height. And the next point, seventh point is this writing on the scrolls were usually done only one side. Writing on these scrolls were done only on one side. And the next point, eighth point, is some of the important papyrus. Some of the important papyrus are, it is good to know some of the names. Nahash papyrus and papyrus from Egypt. So, the concluding point of this, we said this reed is grown along the river Nile in Egypt. At the end of 2nd century, the Egyptian kings, they stopped sending or exporting these reeds. Therefore, there arose alternative way of material. When they stop the material, these people in East Asia, they have to think of the other alternative. Therefore, you can take the point as when the king has stopped. When the king of Egypt stopped exporting papyrus in 2nd century to the East Asia, there arose a need for alternative. Finally, the skin of animal became an alternative. Skin of animal became an alternative for writing material, which is known as parchment. Parchment. Parchment or vellum. Parchment or vellum. After having said about the papyrus and how this parchment arrived as a writing material, now let us see some of the important points on parchments. Parchments. First point, parchment is the Greek form of the word peramone. Greek word peramone, and the Latin word is vellum, is a volume, which means something rolled up. Something rolled up. And the second point is the parchments are made from skin of goat or sheep. Skin of goat or sheep. And the skin of the animal was treated carefully to get creamish color. Creamish or white color. Treated carefully to get the creamish or white. And the skin of sheep are stitched together to make a scroll. They are stitched together, whereas papyrus were hammered together, kept on the crossway and hammered together, but this is stitched together. The skin of the animal was stitched together to give a scroll. The fourth point is the parchment is more durable and flexible than papyrus, because papyrus was so fragile and dry, and whereas this is more flexible and durable. Flexible and durable than papyrus. And they used sharpened reed or a rod, metal sharpened reed. They used sharpened reed or metal as a pen to write on these materials. Sharpened reed, as we have pen today, therefore they had to use sharpened reed to write, and they have used the walnuts to get the ink for their writing. They used the walnuts for getting the ink for writing. And the disadvantage of this parchment is, one has to employ both hands. One has to employ both hands in writing and even in reading. Because, for example, see, this is a parchment. Okay? This is a scroll. This is small, but okay, parchments are bigger one. It is like this. Therefore, in order to read, I have to unscroll. I have to scroll again. For scrolling and unscrolling, I need to employ both hands. This is only the disadvantage of these scrolls. Okay? This is only example I am showing you. Therefore, the Christian community, having known the difficulty, around 100 CE, found a new method in order to have a flexible reading, easy reading, in order to hold easily. What is the new method they have found is putting together the parchments and keeping cover. This is called like this. We think each page is like one parchment, and all the parchments are put together and covered with a cover which we have today, a thick cover that is called cauda. 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 And the next point is the advantages were more because of the parchment. What are the advantages? it was very easier to use, and it can be written on both sides. But whereas papyrus only on one side, but this parchment can be used for writing on both sides, and it keeps the cost down, because since this is written on both sides and which is so durable, therefore it keeps the cost down. This is the advantage of this parchment, the writing material. Having said about the materials, as a third point in the biblical style of writing, we see how the scribes were writing. Scribes and their way of writing. Third point, scribes and their way of writing. First point, in the period between 100 CE, rules of the copyist, that means those who are copying, were defined in Talmud. That means the rules were defined, those who are writing. And the second rule, the second point is, the skin must be that of a clean animal, the parchment. Okay, the skin of the animal should be clean, must be of clean animal. The third one is, there should be equal columns throughout the text. So in one page there are in one there are 12, in the other 20. No, this type of writing was not accepted. In every parchment, the columns must be maintained throughout the writing. The fourth point is, copying must be done from the recognized text. Copying must be done only from recognized copy. Why I say recognized copy? Because it should not be done from memory. Usually scribes, that means you and me today, we read or we write from the scriptures thinking what we learn. Maybe I can say, in this gospel, in this verse is like this, like this, like this. You may not quote it exactly, but whereas you write it not in exact manner. So I do it this with my memory. Therefore, there is a rule. Copying must be done only from the recognized copy, not from memory. What they have heard, they should not write it down. And the fifth point is, every letter should be written. Every letter should be written. So this is another very important point. Those who are copying, the scribes, before writing they should take ritual bath and they should wear ritual dress. They should be dressed with the ritual dress as they are going to copy. Ritual dress. That is Jewish dress, full Jewish dress. And the next point is the writing of name of Adonai, Yahweh. They never call Yahweh. They call Adonai because they don't want to utter the name of Yahweh. Therefore, they call Adonai. The writing of the name of Yahweh had to be done uninterruptedly. They have to write uninterruptedly. That means, for example, I write Yahweh. After writing Y, okay, I cannot wait for a moment. If I start writing Yahweh, I have to write Yahweh and finish it. I cannot stop here, and so on. There is no interrupted writing for the name of Yahweh. Such a strict rule. And the next point is, the scribes were paid according to the lines that they write. Therefore, they hurry in writing in order to get more payment. They are paid according to the lines that they write, and they hurry in order to get more income. Since they hurry, there arose different errors. Different errors. Now we see what are the errors that the scribes have done in their writing. The next point is errors. Errors in writing. There are two types of errors: intentional and unintentional. Intentional and unintentional. The first one, unintentional. Unintentional errors. There are different unintentional errors. The first among these unintentional errors, one of those is punctuation. 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 This is the error of punctuation is not the error of the scribe who is writing, because already the text is written. Text is written. How it was written, as we have seen, continuously it was written. Therefore, the continuous writing without any punctuation is not the mistake or the error that the scribe made. Since he was obliged to copy what is there and how is there, therefore the problem is not of the scribe who is writing. Therefore, it is unintentional error. For example, I will be explaining the Greek word, okay? In Mark 10:40 is written like Alois. You read Mark 10:40.
For the Son of the Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many.
Mark 10:40.
But to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant.
So it is about sitting at left and right. The word, it is in capital letters. The small letters, Alois. 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 Okay. Here the problem arises for the reader. If it is written Alois, it denotes that a place to whom it is allotted for. Allotted for. But whereas when it is written as Alois, it is kept for others. See the difference. Also we have seen God is nowhere, God is now here. This kind of error is not of the scribe who is writing. It's not the mistake of the scribe. The punctuational error is unintentional error. Okay, the next one. Errors arising from the faculty of eyesight. Errors arising from faculty of eyesight. Under this, first one is faculty misreading of uncial letters, that means capital letters. Misreading of uncial letters, capital letters. So, the capital letters are written like this, but whereas because of the eyesight, from here I can see, if I don't see any gap here, I write like, okay, it's a misreading because of the eyesight. This is one kind of error arising from the faculty of eyesight. The second one is errors due to ditography and haplography. Errors due to ditography and haplography. What do you mean by ditography? Writing the same syllable twice. The scribes have written double instead of one. Double. Ditto. Ditto. So, haplography means dropping. Dropping. Ditography and haplography. So, for example, epoi means gentle. Poi. Nepoi means infant. In English, we can say very easily, for example, if there are two N's, in a letter, because of the eyesight, the faculty of ditography, the scribe drops one and writes only one N. And instead of writing one N, the scribes sometimes unconsciously they write double. And here, if Paul wants to say about gentle, the scribes, due to the word which followed and which has the ending as nun, this is N in Greek, nun, it is being added to the following word. This everything happens because of the faculty of eyesight. So now, errors due to parablepsis. The next one, errors due to parablepsis. Parablepsis. Parablepsis means looking side, looking by the side. So it means if a paragraph has a group of letters, example, it is the, okay, in Greek it is difficult to understand for you since we have not begun the classes in Greek. In English, who is the King of Glory? Who is the King of Glory? The Lord is the variant and so on, so on. Again, once again, who is the King of Glory? Once again, who is the King of Glory? When the scribe writes, since here, who is the King of Glory, then ultimately he can overlap this and come to the other one. Parablepsis. Due to the same group of words. This is called parablepsis. These are the errors which happens when they were writing. So these are from the faculty of eyesight. Now we see from the faculty of hearing. Errors arising from faculty of hearing. Homophonous. Homophonous. Homophonous means sounding same. Sound the same. The diphthongs and the vowel are sound as same usually. I and A. Example. If I say you write voice, you can write this voice or this voice. Okay? Because they sound the same. Due to the letters sound the same, there arose the errors in their writing. These are the errors which were done unintentionally. Now we see some of the errors which are done intentionally. The intentional errors. First one. Changes involving spelling, grammar, stylistic emendations. Changes which involves spelling, grammar, and style. When the scribes are writing or copying, they have different manuscripts. One manuscript reads one way, the other manuscript reads another way, the other manuscript reads other way. What the scribes does, they take among these manuscripts available the best one. For example, in Telugu, we say, Poyadu Vellaru. Okay, Poyadu means he went away. Vellaru means he went away. Both convey the same message. But in our writing, which word we prefer? Vellaru. Okay. In the same way, when the manuscripts are available to the scribe, they were preferring to have a good and standard word or any of the script available. That is called changes involving the spelling, grammar, or style. That is intentionally done. Intentionally done for the better understanding of the writing. The second one, harmonistic corruptions. Harmonistic. Harmonistic corruptions. So, as I said, usually these scribes, monks, by heart the scriptures. When they by heart the scriptures, they try to harmonize. They try to harmonize the things as we do. When we get the similar wording in one of the passages, and when we get the similar wording in another passages, we harmonize. For example, the last will be first and the first will be last. And there is also last and first and last. When these two are appearing in the manuscripts, they harmonize. That means instead of writing the last will be first and first will be last, the scribe may think very easy to write first and last, last and first. Harmonizing. It is done intentionally to harmonize the shorter form than the longer form. And the third intentional error is addition of natural complements and similar adjuncts. Additions, adding. Addition of natural complements and similar adjuncts. Usually the scribes have tendency to round up the things. And they see something is lacking. For example, as Jesus said, I have come not to call the righteous, but sinners. But what these scribes do, they round up the thing. And they say, I came not to call the righteous, but sinners up to the repentance. So they round up. They wanted to conclude and show something is lacking there, and we round up. Such intentional errors are being done. And in some of the passages is spoken about scribes and Pharisees. Scribes and Pharisees, scribes and chief priests, and so on. So in order to round up the group of the people which were not included, even they include. This is done intentionally. And the last, the error done intentionally is alterations made because of doctrinal reasons, alterations. Alterations made because of doctrinal reasons. So many of the alterations were done in the scriptures, and the church fathers criticized those alterations, such as Irenaeus and so on. They criticized because some of the alterations were done in order to support their writing. A scribe, in order to support his writing, his style of writing, such alterations are done in order to show that this writing is best one. They say it is a doctrinal basis, but in order to support their writing, they change the style. Okay? And one of those is one of the example I tell you. Luke 23:32. You read from Bible? Luke 23:32. Two others also who were criminals who were led away to be put to death. So here, two others also. Is it? Two others also. When we say, the scribes say, when two others also, Jesus was not among the criminals, because two others also were the criminals. But whereas they read like this even. And also other criminals, two were led away with him to be crucified. And also other criminals, two were led away with him to be crucified. That means Jesus was also considered as criminal. Therefore, for the doctrinal reasons, this intentional error is being done in order to avoid the heresies. Okay, dear brothers, these are the errors that the scribes have done in their writing, intentionally and unintentionally. Unintentionally done due to their restrictions, intentionally done because of the better understanding of the writing. And it is also unintentional done because of the faculty of their eyesight and hearing, as we have seen. So with this we conclude this chapter, biblical style of writing. Okay? Thank you.